Maryland, nice.
Awesome. All right. We'll just go ahead and get started. So now that at least some of you are familiar with the chat, you know that if you do have any questions that you'd like to ask, or when I pose some questions for the discussion, if you'd like to answer them, you can do so in the chat. When I go to share my screen so that you can see our presentation, I will not be able to see what's going on in here anymore. So Nadine will be my eyes and ears in Zoom, and she'll be able to read off questions and answers to me. So we'll just go ahead and get started. I don't think I'm missing anything, right? We good?
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so I'll go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so the first thing I want to point out before we really get going, this is the Senior Planet website. This is the page where you probably joined this class, Sending and Receiving Money with Zelle. And I just want to let you know that if you would like a handout for today that just gives you the kind of general ideas and bullet points of what we went over, you see here at the bottom of the page, it says click here for a handout. So you can find that on this page, and we can also link that in the chat later. But just want to make you aware that if you need a handout, you can find it there. So I'm going to go ahead and go to our lecture, Sending and Receiving Money with Zelle. So this is what we will be talking about. First, we'll be covering what P2P payments are, which is short for person-to-person payments, and how Zelle fits into that, and how it compares with other services. And then we'll look at the specific uses of Zelle, how you find it, and all sorts of things like that. So today, just to let you know, today as the lecture, we just do a general overview of what is Zelle and how it works. But then on Wednesday at 4:30, so the same time, we'll be doing a workshop, and the workshop is more of a specific practicing with going through each step of how you would use it, and also some other online banking features. So if after today's lecture you still want a little bit more in-depth information on how you use Zelle, you can go ahead and RSVP for our workshop on Wednesday. You do need to RSVP for that one. Our lectures are always open like this to anyone, but we'd like to keep our workshops smaller. So just make sure you email us, and we can give you the information for that later too, if you don't have it, but you can RSVP for that. All right, so Zelle so anytime you see P2P, that just stands for person-to-person payment that you are able to use. It's for online and mobile banking customers. So you need to have already set up your online banking account through your bank, or downloaded the app and put it on your phone. If you're, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but over 500 or nearly 500 financial institutions currently offer Zelle. If your financial institution, if your bank or credit union does not offer Zelle, there is still a way that you can access these services through their app, through the Zelle app. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. More than 140 million people in the US have access to Zelle through their banking app though. So there's a really good chance that you already have access to it. And if your bank or credit union does not offer it, you can download the Zelle app, as I said. So all you'll need is an email address and or your mobile phone number. You can send and receive money in minutes, almost immediately, when both parties are enrolled. And that's a really important thing. If you are familiar with other P2P payments, you'll know that in order for you to send money to another person, they need to have the same exact app or account as you. So if you are going to use Zelle to send money, the other person also needs to be using Zelle as well. That being said, Zelle does not have access to any of your personal account information. That stays with your financial institution. So even though you're, sending and receiving money with other people, it's all kept safe and confidential. But you want to definitely make sure you only use it with people you know and trust for sure. I'm going to go ahead and try to show you a video. I really hope it works. That kind of breaks this down for you, gives you that visual representation. This video is on the Zelle website. So if you ever want to go back and check it out, the website is zellepay.com. You can see that up at the top. So Nadine, let me know if this video, if you can't hear the audio, but here we go.
Zelle is an easy way to send and receive money with friends and family. You know, people you trust. At different banks for all sorts of things. Zelle is offered by banks and credit unions of all sizes across the U.S. With Zelle, money moves directly between bank accounts in minutes, not days, making it fast, safe, and easy to send and receive money. Here's how Zelle works. Say you want to pay Jen back for your part of the pizza you shared. If you're like over 100 million other Americans, you can access Zelle directly through your bank or credit union. To see if your bank or credit union offers Zelle, head to the Get Started page on zellepay.com. If your bank offers Zelle, go to their website or mobile app and enroll your email or U.S. mobile number. Once you're enrolled, you can send money with Zelle from your banking app. If Jen is already enrolled with Zelle, the money will arrive directly in her bank account in minutes. If she's not enrolled with Zelle, she'll get a message explaining how to collect her money. If Jen's bank doesn't offer Zelle, she can download the Zelle app, enroll with her email or U.S. mobile number, and enter the debit card she wants to use. After enrolling with Zelle, the money will go directly into Jen's bank account. Keep in mind, Zelle can send money from your bank account to someone else's in minutes. So it's important you know and trust the person you're sending it to. Now that you paid Jen back, it's time you both start looking for the next great pizza place to try. Zelle. This is how money moves.
Okay, great. So we'll definitely come back to this website and I'll show you how you can look up to see if your financial institution participates with Zelle. But we will talk about this first. So just getting more into what person-to-person P2P payments are. So I'm sure you've heard of a wire transfer or a bank transfer, but person-to-person payments, they're similar, but they're just a more simple way of being able to send money electronically from one person to another, even if you both have different banks that you bank with. Because, with wire transfers or other bank transfers, sometimes there are fees involved. And so using P2P payments often reduces or totally eliminates those fees, which can be, incredibly helpful. The personal information stays secure. It's encrypted in a similar way to the same way banks encrypt your info. And just to let you know, the word encryption, you'll see that a lot when banks talk about the kind of security that they use. It's just a fancy word for saying, from my computer to another person's computer, when the information is being transferred over the internet through the telecommunication lines, the encryption technology jumbles all of that information so that if someone were to try to hack that information being transferred, they would receive all of the information, but it would be jumbled up into, different letters and numbers. And so they wouldn't be able to make sense of it. So that's a very oversimplified way of explaining what encryption is, but that's how they keep your information safe. So different P2P payment services allow you to link an eligible credit card, debit card, bank account. It really just depends on which one you're using. But again, you will need an email address in order to sign up and to verify your account. And then the email is how they notify you. So every time you use it, you get like a little receipt of the payment, if you sent money to your friend, or, to your grandson or whatever, you'll get an email confirmation that the money was sent. And then you can keep that email for your records, kind of like your receipt. You can also use your phone number if you're using Zelle through your bank or credit union account. But still, the email address is still very important because you also need an email address to have even signed up for online banking in the first place. So yeah. So Zelle is different than these other services you may have heard of before because Zelle is one that you can use through your bank or credit union's website or mobile app, whereas these other ones are a standalone service, right? So you have Apple Cash, Cash App, Google Pay, PayPal, and Venmo. Those are those aren't the only ones, but those are definitely the biggest ones. I'm sure you've heard of or maybe even used some of the other ones. They do work similarly, but they all require their own separate app, and they're not something you can use through your bank. So if your bank does participate with Zelle, you don't need to download Zelle, the Zelle app extra or in addition. You can just use Zelle through your mobile banking app, right? Whereas all of these other ones do require their own app to use. Also, Apple Cash, that is only for Apple product users, so like iPhone or the iPad, things like that. It's part of the Apple Wallet, so something to keep in mind there. So yeah, and with all of those, you can link like a checking account to them. So when you so the other thing is these standalone services, since they don't immediately connect with your like your checking account the way that Zelle does, whenever you receive money like in PayPal, Venmo, or Cash App or any of these things, it sits in that app until you decide what to do with it. And you can keep it there or you can transfer it to your checking account or whatever it is. But Zelle is different in that it just goes straight into your account. You don't have to have that like third party thing there. So again, these are not all of the services. There are some new ones. Like I guess Facebook is now offering a way that you can send and receive money through their site, also through WhatsApp or WeChat, which is an app that you can use to communicate with other people. So it's a really big industry and a lot of people are trying to get in on it. So yeah, I do want to ask though, has anyone here used any of these different kinds of services? And if you have, what do you usually use them for? And go ahead and write your answer in the chat and I'll just wait a little bit to hear your responses.
Yeah. So take your time. It gives them a few minutes, and I'll be helping Lisa as well for the ones that she hasn't seen. There's Sandra. I never heard. I never have used P2P payments.
Okay.
And then there's Larry. I do person-to-person exchange of finances.
Okay. For those of you also, if you have not used these before, what is a situation you think you might want to use one of these services? Or, why are you here? Is there a specific reason that you really want to learn about Zelle?
We have a person that participated that said they're worried about doing it correctly. We have Susan who said she used it to chip in on a gift.
Oh,
awesome.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's a really great one. That one's done a lot. Like for Mother's Day a month ago and for Father's Day coming up, my sister lives close to my mom, so it's easier for her to go visit. So she says to all of me and my siblings, like, oh, why don't you send me some money and I'll like buy mom a wonderful gift. And that makes it easier for us because we feel like we've done something for our mom, even if we're really far away, right?
We have a few more. It says Sandra says seems like something we need to move over to, like in terms of transitioning as a technology. We have Michael, who did, he said did not PayPal, but Zelle is so much better, especially, I guess he did not like PayPal. Zelle is much better, especially for the bank access feature.
Oh,
Yes, he corrected himself. And Catherine never used what social distancing has left me owing money, and I don't want to send a check.
yeah.
And gifts, bank services, will it still work? I do not have other online banking services. Will it still work? Third time, oh yeah, I got Michael, I understood. Thank you. And then we have another person. Does it go on from checking account to checking account? Does it
Yes.
go from checking account to checking account? Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So it does go from checking account to checking account, I believe. I'm not sure. And, this is a question we can save later also for Megan, our Zelle representative. But there may be a way that you could set it up that it goes straight into your savings. But usually it's, you're sending money from your checking account and then the person receiving it, also has it showing up in their checking account. But that may be something that you can modify to come like receive or give from your savings. But we can check in on that later. That's a really great question. And then I heard the other question was if you don't have or you haven't signed up for online banking, if you're able to use Zelle. When I show you where you can look up if your bank participates with Zelle, if your bank does, then yes, you should set up your online banking account. It's not something that you have to create. It's just because your bank already has all of your information waiting for you to access it. It's just something that you would have to talk to your bank about so you can access it. And you just have to create like a password and all of that kind of stuff and set it up. If your bank or credit union does not participate with Zelle, then you don't need to get an online banking account. You can just download the Zelle app and then link a debit card that is tied to your checking account, and then be able to use it that way.
Lisa.
Yes.
Lisa, just really quickly, we have Larry who would like to participate verbally. I'm just going to unmute him quickly, and then everybody else, I'm just going to have you just engage yourselves in the chat. Okay, hold on one second. Larry,
Okay.
I'm going to unmute you, and
I was going to type in everything, and I got a text message while
okay.
waiting, but I got introduced to Zelle this year through my adult kids. I don't remember they forwarded me some money, and then we share the same bank, USAA.
Okay.
And I checked with USAA about it. And then on my USA app, there is a pay with Zelle thing. And then to set up the account, I have 6 people. Then I commonly Zelle, which has become a verb in our family. Have you Zelled me anything? Can you Zelle me something or whatever else, and then I started using it to distribute gifts.
Great.
And it's replaced gift cards or checks and cards or whatever else. And I usually give it to them about 3-4 days before the event so that they could go buy something that on my behalf that I would have given my kids or whatever, my wife and I. So then we go to their party, they already have the money and they already have the gift that they bought that we would have presented them with. But I pay my landscaping man the same way. You can only do it from what I understand from one person to the other, that you can't buy things like on Amazon or you can't pay bills with it.
Right.
I'm trying to get my buddy who's landlord of my house, whatever. He's the only bill that I have to go and pay the old fashioned way with a check because he just can't understand Zelle. And I don't want to put our friendship on the line. I've sent him all the links and all the stuff, and his bank doesn't believe in it. I tried to explain to him that I could send it to him and he could put it on another card, but that's too confusing. But
yeah,
Larry, thank you for your participation. So we're going to continue on, and then we're going to let Lisa continue her lecture, and then we'll have you engage yourself a little bit later on in the next segment. Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you. So yeah. Oh, and I do apologize for your background noise. I live in New York City, so you may hear the sirens back there. Yeah. So just to follow up on what Larry was saying, it is person to person. So it's not a service that you use at, the store. It's just to pay another person that has a personal checking account. But it's a great way, as Larry demonstrated with, like, if you're not able to be there for somebody's birthday and you just send them some money, or like the video demonstrated, you're all at a restaurant, with their 5 friends, right? And instead of splitting the bill 5 ways, one person just pays with their card, and then everyone else can Zelle or, use one of those other P2P payment services to send them their share of the bill. And that just makes it, a little bit easier. So thank you so much for everybody for your input. So how it works exactly, so it's electronic money movement, so basically similar to a wire transfer. The payments are made via your phones, your mobile devices. It could be also an iPad or your computer. So again, if it is, if your bank is connected to Zelle, then you just use your online banking app or website, and you can do it through there. If your bank does not participate with Zelle, you can still use Zelle. You'll just need to download the Zelle app. There are security measures, SSL security measures to protect your identity and activity. And then, as we said, the encrypted data minimizes the risk of identity theft and fraud. We will talk about safety precautions later. But one thing that we will reiterate again and again and again and again is really make sure you definitely know the person that you're sending it to. You need their name and their email or their phone number, whichever one they use with Zelle. And you want to double check that for sure, just to make sure that it works. So why you would use Zelle? Of course, it's super easy. You can send and receive money directly from the computer or smartphone. You just need an email or your phone number, and it's already available. There's a very good chance it's already available in your online banking app. It is one of the reasons that it is considered safer than like a traditional wire transfer is that you don't need the account number of the other person like you would in a wire transfer, where you have to know their like checking number, account, and routing number. This, all you would need is their name and their email, and they don't need to give you any other information. So that way it just keeps it a little bit safer. When somebody sends you money, Zelle doesn't actually handle the money. It uses your email or your phone number to look up your bank or credit union and then notifies them to transfer the money. And so, yeah, you can also, it replaces cash and checks, like as Larry said. I use a person-to-person payment with my roommate. I'm on the lease and he sends me money for his share of the rent that way. And so it just makes it a lot easier than him having to constantly write me a check, right? And you also don't need cash anymore, because if you need to pay somebody back for something, you can just Zelle them, and you don't have to go to the ATM to pick that up. So that can be really nice. Also, wiring money comes with fees. Whereas Zelle and a lot of these other P2P payments does not charge fees to send and receive money. That being said, you do want to check with your bank or credit union about whether or not they charge fees for using Zelle on their end. But from what I've heard, most of them don't. So it's just, nicer, easier that way. So where to find Zelle? They've partnered with financial institutions of all sizes, and also, again, you don't have to have the same bank as another person in order to use Zelle. If someone has Chase Bank and another person has TD Bank, they can still send and receive money from each other using Zelle without any problems. So I'm going to show you where you can look this up. Going back to the Zelle website, When you first come to zellepay.com, you'll see at the top right, there's a menu for how it works, get started facts, and play it safe. I'm going to go ahead and click on get started there. And that will bring me to their list of all their the financial institutions that they partner with. So you can either just go down the list and search alphabetically like that. I can also just click, you see the alphabet there, I can click on the first letter of the name of the bank and be able to find it, or I could click on search and just type it in. So if anybody wants to write in the chat what the name of their bank is, I can actually just use a couple examples and search to see if your bank is associated with Zelle. And I'll give you a couple, like about a minute to type that in.
Chase, Catherine.
Chase, okay. And you see, I type in Chase and it comes right up. So that means that you definitely have access to Zelle through your Chase online banking account. Anybody else? We'll just take like a couple more. No?
Oh, we have one more, Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo, okay. I'll search that. All right, Wells Fargo shows right up. So yeah, you'll notice, you might be surprised to see that there are also a lot of like local banks that you wouldn't have guessed that they partner with, or credit unions, but they partner with most of the, you know, big ones. Like you see Bank of America here. We looked up Chase, Wells Fargo. They all participate with Zelle. So if you bank with any of those bigger institutions, there's a very good chance that they already partner with Zelle. I'm going to go back to the presentation here. So if your bank does not offer Zelle, that doesn't mean you can't use it. So don't worry about that. You know, if you are friends with somebody or you have a family member that wants to use Zelle with you, they either want to send you money or receive money from you. And sorry, there's a lot of fireworks.
Lisa? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Lisa?
sorry.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, okay, you can still hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, yes, sorry. Somebody in my neighborhood likes to put off fireworks and I don't know why. Okay, so yeah, so you don't have to worry about if the other person doesn't have Zelle or you don't have Zelle offered with your bank. You can just download the Zelle app and then just connect a debit card that is tied to your checking account through the app, and you can still use Zelle even if your bank or credit union doesn't have a direct partnership with them. But in order to send and receive money, you both need to be using Zelle in one way or another, either through your bank or credit union or through the app. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so Zelle in your banking app. I'm going to show you a demo site where I can kind of run you through what that looks like to send or receive money through Zelle. Now, just to let you know, this is just an example site, of course. If you bank online, depending on your bank, your website will look a little different. So this is just supposed to give you a general idea. It may not be exactly what your banking website will look like. So if you log into your online banking account and you're looking for Zelle, it may not be exactly where you see it on our example site, but is something that you can also, if you're a little bit confused about how to find it, go ahead and call your bank or credit union and ask them how you can access Zelle through the site, and they should walk you through that. But in this example, when I did click on the checking account, you see at the top, underneath the blue banner, it gives me send money with Zelle right there on the left-hand side. So if I were to, I just went out to dinner with somebody and I need to, pay them back for something, I could click on send money with Zelle, and this little box pops up here. And they have send money and request money. So if I sent the money would go, it would immediately withdraw from my checking account and send it to their account. If I request money though, that's just sending a notification to somebody that they owe me money, but it doesn't mean that I'm automatically taking money from their account. They of course have to approve that, right? And you may receive a request from somebody, and it doesn't mean that the money is gone. You would then have to acknowledge that you accept the request, and then you could pay them. And the reason you would want to do that is, like, for example, if like my roommate, he is in charge of the utilities are in his name in our apartment. So, but the utilities change from month to month, right? Depending on how much we use electricity. So I always expect a request from him at the end of the month, whenever he gets the bill, that says, this is what it was for this month. And then I can choose to accept that and pay him. So that's when you would request the money. But for this example, we're going to be sending money. So you see that you'll enter the email or mobile phone number of the person that you are sending money to that is tied to their Zelle account. And you definitely want to double check that with them. So the example they give us here is somebody named Sarah Jeffrey. And then you click on amount, and it gives us, the demo site has us doing $100. Below that, if you wanted to add a note, so if you wanted to say what it was for, just to let them know, you would click on add a note and then type in whatever that is. And then you would continue. Now, I know a lot of people get nervous about using this because they're afraid of doing the wrong thing. It will always give you a confirmation page. It will always say, okay, so we are about to request some money from, or send money to this person, Sarah Jeffrey. This is the email address and this is the amount. And then it looks like it was for dinner. $100 for dinner seems very expensive. So I guess these are very fancy people. But you'd want to double, triple check that this is the right person, right? And then once you know for sure, you can click on, yes, I know this person and I confirm it. And then you can click send money. And it gives you a example page or like a receipt page with your confirmation code. It will also most likely send you an email to confirm that you've done that, so you can keep it for your records. We always stress again that it's so important to make sure you know who you're sending money to, because you should treat this transfer as if it were cash. Once you send it, if it was to the wrong person, you probably still won't get it back. And so you want to definitely make sure you know who that person is that you're sending it to, right? Okay. So that is kind of a brief run through of what that looks like to use Zelle in your bank account. So that one was tied to that bank's website. Again, it's going to look a little different if you use the Zelle app, but it's essentially the same thing. And then the money will just show up within minutes, if not even faster, to the other person's account. Okay, so just to get an idea of where people are at, feel free to answer any of these questions in the chat. Nadine will share some of your answers, but what do you think some of the benefits of using Zelle are, or some scenarios where you can see yourself using it? And also, would you recommend Zelle to your family and friends? Why or why not? So I know we heard before Larry using the example of sending money to his children and being able to easily, send and receive money back and forth that way. But if anybody has any other examples, or if they would recommend this service to their family and friends, and the reasons for that. So I'll give you a couple minutes to answer.
We have a lot of quick responses. We have Michael, who definitely will recommend Zelle. He feels it's fast and safe. We
Awesome.
have Larry, welcome back, said yes, yes. And Susan loves the benefits, easy to use.
Yes, yeah, it's super easy. And once you get the hang of it, it's very convenient.
Valerie Jones is in agreement as well. She says very fast and easy. Definitely would recommend.
Awesome. Okay, great. Yeah, so a lot of it's convenience, right? It's fast, it's easy, it's secure. You don't have to share any of your personal information with another person. You can just easily receive and send money using this sort of a third-party system here. And yeah, so we're going to get into the safety tips. I do want to get through this so we can leave time at the end for any other questions that you have for us or for our Zelle representative. But of course, the big thing here is, you know, how do you keep yourself safe? The first thing we definitely recommend, and also this is not just for Zelle, this is just for like using any financial services online in general. So this is just good information to have. And one of the first things we recommend is enabling alerts from your bank. This is something we will go over on Wednesday at our workshop if you are interested. But you can work with your bank to set up alerts. I'm sure maybe you've already, if you've ever, you know, made a very large purchase and your bank will call you and they'll say, I just saw that you bought, you know, this thing that seems out of what you would normally get. We just calling to confirm that it's you. So you may already have those kinds of alerts set up with your bank, but you can set up additional alerts to keep yourself safe. Like if more than, you know, a certain amount is ever taken out of your account, you can set up an alert to be notified of that. If your balance drops below a certain amount, you can set up an alert for that. If you receive a deposit, you can set up an alert for that. So there's all sorts of alerts that you can set up. Every bank has their own ones that they offer, so that's something that you can check with your bank. But that just helps you to keep track of your money. You know, if you're not constantly checking your bank account every day, then it might benefit you to, you know, receive like a text message, phone call, or email from your bank that just lets you know that there's something going on in your account. And if it's from you, you can ignore it. And if it looks strange, then you have immediate knowledge that something's wrong with your account. So that's one of the ways that you can definitely keep yourself safe. Another thing is multi-factor authentication. That just means to have more than one way to access your account. So in addition to a password, which of course you'd want a very, very strong password you use, you would also have, you know, like security questions, or your second one could be like a pattern you put, you know, that you have to draw out. Or it could be some phones, you know, can do like facial recognition, right? Whatever it is, every, you know, bank with their online banking account and their apps offer different levels of that, you know, multi-factor authentication, and you can kind of pick and choose which ones you want. But those can be really helpful, right? It's just like adding more steps to getting into your account, so that way it's harder for somebody who's trying to steal your money to get in. Of course, only use Zelle with people you know and that you trust, because again, once the money is gone, it is gone. Treat it like cash. You cannot just cancel what you did. The money already sent to their account is already deposited there. So you want to make sure that you double, triple check the email or the phone number of the other person that you're sending or receiving money from. Another big thing is don't click on links in suspicious or unsolicited emails. Okay, so this is in reference to emails that we call phishing emails, which is instead of an F with phishing, it's PH. Those are just phishing emails are emails where somebody is pretending to be somebody they're not in order to trick you into giving them personal information. So they like often pretend to be your financial institution or the IRS or, you know, some other sort of organization that you have personal information stored with, and they try to pretend to be that and to trick you into giving out the information of your own volition, right? They don't hack you, they're just waiting to see if you'll fall for it. So some of the things that you might see is that you'll get a suspicious email or an email that just comes from nowhere. It seems to, you know, it'll, you know, if it's pretending to be from a bank, oftentimes it'll announce a problem with your account, but you're like, you've never had this problem before. It just seems really strange. That's something to keep an eye out for. Some other things that those people who use those emails, the tools that they use, the first thing is a generic salutation. So when your bank emails you, they will say at the beginning of the email, "Dear Mr. So-and-so" or "Dear Ms. So-and-so." They will put your name in there. Whereas these, you know, people who pretend to be your bank, they'll put like "Dear Customer" instead of your name. And it's because they're sending out a lot of these emails to a bunch of people all at once. So they don't have time to put in the different names. They may not even know your name. All they have is your email address, right? So anytime you see a generic salutation, that should be a cause for concern. If it has a sort of strange link in there, you definitely don't want to click on it at all. You can also hover, if you're on the computer, you can hover your mouse. So not clicking on it, but put the mouse over the link and see what website it's going to lead you to. And there's a good chance it's not going to lead you to your bank. Also, your bank does not normally put links in emails. They tell you to go separately to your bank's website if there's an issue, or they'll say, "Please call us." But they don't usually put links in your email. Anything that creates a sense of urgency as well. So if it's saying like, "There's a problem with your account, and if you don't click on this and give us this information within 48 hours, your account will be suspended." Your bank would never do that. Your bank would try to call you, if anything, before that, right? If you are ever concerned, of course, just go to your financial institution's website, like close out of your email, go there directly, or just call them and be like, "I received a weird email and I'm not really sure what it is, and it's kind of scaring me." The idea is that the reason that they give you that sense of urgency, making you feel like you don't have enough time to address something, is because they're just trying to scare you into doing something without thinking about it. You'll just act super fast because you're worried, and then they have your information. So anytime it tries to scare you with any sense of urgency, just take a deep breath. Don't immediately react to it, but go ahead and call your bank. Don't ever respond to these emails as well. Oh, and another thing that is very important is that a lot of the people that create and send out these phishing emails are usually from countries where English is not their first language. And so a lot of the emails will have very strange typos or different, just like the way they phrase sentences is very strange. So of course your bank would, they proofread their emails to make sure that they're grammatically correct. So if you ever see something like that, that should also be a cause for concern. But when in doubt, call your bank, right? Go directly to your bank's website, not through your email. I want to come back. I'm going to come back to Zoom, and I'll stop sharing my screen. So if there are any questions, and Nadine's probably kept, record of some of them, we can answer them, and then also give some time to Megan, our representative from Zelle, to be able to answer some questions as well.
Hi, everyone. This is Nadine again. Before Megan joins us, Lisa, could you just do a few little things for us?
Sure.
Can you just review quickly, because this particular participant, Mark, came in a little bit late. I'm going to revise the email part for Zelle. Must you make sure that the recipient's email address is linked to checking, because multiple people have multiple emails? Can you
Yes,
clarify?
so people have multiple emails, but you only have one email that's associated with your online banking account. So whichever one you use for your online banking account, that's the one you use for Zelle. If Zelle is not through your bank or credit union, and you're using the app, it doesn't give you an option for multiple emails, right? You just use one email to sign up for Zelle. So you just have to make note of whichever one that is, either through the Zelle app or through your online banking website, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you. Also, another friendly reminder as we go on through the Q&As that um, I'm using the chat as well as my notes, but if you want to flag me and signal me in any type of way, remember you can raise your hand, or if you're using the iPhone, you can *6 to unmute yourself or *9 to raise your hand. We also have in terms of the financial aspect of safety, we have Susan that made a comment and also a question where she says, um, it's not good for those who do not double check without sending when they're sending money. And she also wonders about scammers. How would you address that?
So that's again why you want to definitely make sure you know who you are sending money to, that you have the correct email and that you have the correct number. I know that sometimes I will see people using person-to-person payments to like donate money to a person or a cause, and you just want to definitely double check that the information that you have, that it's you're donating to somebody that at least you have like a mutual friend, or it's like you're getting that information from a good source, so that you know that you're sending money to the right person for sure. But yeah, I mean, that's about it as far as like what's in your control with the security. I mean, the other thing of course is also to make sure that the password that you use either in the Zelle app or your online banking account, that the password you use is very, very strong and complicated, right? So it's not something that could be easily guessed. Another thing that just came to mind is that do not use your banking, online banking, or Zelle or person-to-person payments over public Wi-Fi. If you're sharing Wi-Fi with somebody at Starbucks, it's not as safe as using a Wi-Fi internet connection that has a password. So if you don't have access to secure internet while you're out and about, just wait till you're home to send those payments or to access your account. Don't do it through public Wi-Fi connections.
Okay. And just to piggyback on that, can you also clarify, can one transfer funds to themselves from one account to another institution from not P2P?
Not like if you have two different banks and you're sending money.
Yeah.
I would assume yes, that you could do that, but I feel like that would be a great question for Megan.
Absolutely. And I feel the same too. And just really quick, just looking at something really quickly. Is there a minimum or maximum that can be sent?
Also a great question for Megan.
Okay.
So if Megan wants to chime in
Yeah,
now,
we're gonna open up.
yourself and answer those two questions, that would be awesome.
Can you hear us, Megan?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So the first question was if you can transfer money from one bank to another and you have both of the accounts. And yes, you can. But you have to be enrolled with Zelle on both of those banks. And you need to either enroll in one bank with your email address and the other with your mobile number, or two different email addresses.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then the second question was the minimum or maximum that you can send.
So that depends on the bank. The banks set the limits on how much you can send.
Okay.
Thank you. And then also, Megan, as we usually start, can you give us a little history about Zelle? Who owns Zelle and how do they make money?
So Zelle has been around for a little over 3 years. It was launched in June 2017 by its parent company called Early Warning Services, which is a payments and risk technology company that's been in the market for over 30 years, selling B2B technology to financial institutions. The company acquired Clear Exchange, a P2P network, back in 2016, and rebranded it and furthered the product and rebranded it as Zelle.
Okay. And here's a very nice question. This is from Catherine. Why did Senior Planet choose to partner with Zelle versus other P2Ps? Would you like to participate in that question, or would you like us to answer?
Well, I can answer it from our side. You know, we saw an opportunity to help educate, you know, this growing community, and through recommendations and research, we found Senior Planet to be a reputable and highly regarded company. And we believe in what they're doing and helping folks learn digital banking and learn digital technology. And so it was just a great fit. And so far, it's been fabulous.
And to piggyback on our side, you know, Zelle is a very popular through banking institutions, and that's what I wrote in the chat as well. And just to reiterate, oh, I see Larry has his hands up, and before I unmute you, Larry, just to reiterate, please feel free to start participating in that way, and so that we can hear your voices. Larry, can you hear?
Two things, yes. Two things about Zelle. When I do it from my app on my phone, I do it at home with the internet. But as soon as I finish doing it, it shows up as a notification and alert, the way I have all my notifications. And at that moment, it shows up on my phone app bank statement. I mean, instantaneously, faster than the folks have their money. The thing shows up there. So that's another way to verify for security that everything went through. I will usually text somebody ahead of time and tell them I'm going to send the money to them. And I ask them to let me know when to get it. And all of that occurs in 60 seconds from start to the finish.
Awesome.
That's great.
Anybody else would like to participate in questions, or feel free to comment as well.
Yeah, we have about 3 minutes left, but if there are any other questions that you would like to either be unmuted for or write in the chat, we'd be happy to answer them. Thank you. So just a reminder that if you do want a little bit more in-depth information about how to do some online banking features and how to use Zelle through your online banking website, we will be going over that with our workshop on Wednesday at the same time, but you do need to RSVP for our workshop since it's a smaller group. I see that there was a question.
Yes. Michael said, if I send a family member money, do they need to accept the money, or does it go directly? Does it get directly deposited into their account?
It goes directly into the account.
And Megan, would you like to join?
Yeah, it goes directly as long as they're enrolled. If they're not enrolled, they'll get an alert telling them that's a person sending them money, and that and the steps to enroll in Zelle.
Okay.
Yeah, so again, just make sure that when you are using this service, that the person that you're sending or receiving money also uses Zelle, so that you can use all the benefits of that. Okay, so there in the chat, Nadine linked a link to our survey. It's just, oh, we actually need to fix the link there. It's seniorplanet.org/survey. And when you go there, it'll just ask you a few questions about how we did today. It just helps, make sure that our lectures are going okay, and that if there's anything we need to improve on, we can. But thank you all. There's the updated link. Thank you all so much for coming today. Again, if you'd like to come to the workshop on Wednesday, there are instructions for RSVPing on the website, I believe. But yes, thank you so much, everyone, for joining today.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Megan.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, we have a RA